What's up, NerdNation? Today's video is a little different. Not just a game review, not just commentary, it's part soapbox, part story time, and part curiosity-fueled experiment. You see, I spend a lot of time around the internet, lurking in communities, absorbing drama, watching trends rise and fall. And one space I am particularly into is the Vtuber one. Now, recently, one of the Vtubers I follow, Kirsche, got hit hard by a deplatforming campaign. She lost a game sponsorship from crime boss Rockay City after some edgy jokes she made that rubbed people the wrong way. But the story doesn't end there, because it kicked off a bigger conversation about creators, outrage, and how communities respond. So today, I'm taking a closer look. I'm going to sit down and actually play Crime Boss, a game I already own but barely touched. Not to tell you whether you should buy it, not to preach, just to ask myself, is this something I want to keep playing, or start playing, or is this just another file in my Steam graveyard? So, where did it all start? Well, obviously, at the beginning. There's a VTuber named Kirsche. She's part of an organization called Mythic, which is a group that supports and uplifts VTubers. Now, without driving too deep into the rabbit hole, there are a few kinds of VTubers out there. There are corporate VTubers, like the ultra-famous Gargura, who, RIP to the shark, recently graduated from VTubing, which is the cute way of saying they retired. Then there are independents, like Dokibird or Fillion, doing their own thing without being tied to a company. And then there's what I call small-time organizations, like Mythic. That's not an official term, it's just how I see it. And that's where Kirsche fits in. She's not part of a massive corporation. She's not as big as HoloLive or any of these other big companies. But she's not a total indie either. Now, here's where I need to clear up something. If you've watched other videos about VTuber drama, or even VTuber content in general, you might hear people say things like, the VTuber community is toxic, the VTuber community is wholesome, or enter in some type of sweeping statement here. But honestly, there's really not a VTuber community as I see it. At least not in the same way you'd say there's a Warhammer community or a gaming community. In my experience, it's all about the individual fan base. Each VTuber has their own little ecosystem. They've got their fans, their discords, their memes, their style. In VTuber culture, the term for your favorite is your Oshi. It's a Japanese word for the one you support, the one you throw money at, simp for, clip, watch, defend, and all that good stuff. Anyways, I think that's enough VTuber 101 for now. Let's get back to the actual drama. So, while I'm walking you through what happened, I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version, because yeah, we're doing this while I play the game, and I'll be taking notes in real time on whether the game is actually worth my time. Now, to really get what went down, we need to zoom out just a bit. So, we live in a weird timeline where two things can be true at once. Someone can make edgy jokes that don't land for everyone, and also not deserve a full-blown cancellation campaign over it. And look, I'm not trying to be some internet philosopher. I'm just saying what I see. So here's the skinny. A while back, there was a tragic incident here in Texas involving a young man named Carmelo Anthony. No, not the basketball player. A different individual. He was involved in a stabbing that led to someone losing their life. It's heartbreaking, and unsurprisingly, it became a flashpoint online, especially once his family set up a crowdfund project and raised over $500,000. Now, fast forward a bit, and there was another viral incident. A woman named Shiloh Hendricks. She was at a park and she accused a young boy, possibly autistic, of stealing something from her kid's diaper bag. There's no footage, just claims. But during the confrontation, she used a racial slur, and that's never okay. She also ended up raising a large amount of money through crowdfunding as well. These were two very different, very uncomfortable events. but both sparked massive debates online about race, justice, outrage, and who gets public support. Kirsche talked about both of these incidents on stream, and yeah, she didn't celebrate either one.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I think Josh was completely right about his take, where like it was fine to leave up Carmalo's give, send, go, because if people are going to donate their money to something, even if it's a vile thing, they're free to give their money to whatever the fuck they feel like. And after people have given an alleged murderer who admitted that he did it a ton of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, there's no way that anyone can be upset or try to take down a give, send, go of a woman who merely used words. She didn't kill anyone, she didn't stab anyone, she wasn't physically abusive towards anyone, she said words. And so there's no way that people can try and campaign and get this taken down after what happened with Carmel.
She was clear. Both situations were bad. One involved a racist slur towards a child, something no one should be okay with. The other involved the loss of a young man's life, which is obviously tragic. What she said, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that given the choice between being insulted and being killed, she would prefer to be called a slur. Now, is that a blunt way of putting it? Absolutely. But that was her personal reaction to two horrible situations. She wasn't defending the slur. She wasn't excusing the behavior. She was making a point about the weight of consequences. And whether you agree with her or not, I think it's important to quote people honestly and in context. But, as often it happens online, that one line got pulled out, twisted, and turned into a weapon. And that's where the firestorm really started. Kirsche talked about these events in one of her streams. She didn't endorse either situation. She didn't say one was better or worse. She was just pointing out the pattern. People are frustrated. People are angry. And that anger is spilling out in all directions. Online, offline, and how we support causes and who we decide to cancel. And honestly, she wasn't wrong for observing that. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm looking at the landscape and trying to understand, how did we get here?
Unless it's against white people, I guess. Instead of donating to a trailer trash racist, you can donate to me instead. What a little weasel. What a little weasel freak, actually. A lot of people are just like unfollowed. That's an unfollow from me. Bostonian guy said, oh no, what am I going to do without followers that think it's okay to call a 5-year-old the N-word? I don't think most people think it's okay. I think there are a lot of people who are tired of things happening, like Daniel Penny, like the whole George Floyd incident and the Summer of Love, like the Carmelo Anthony. There's just a lot of people tired of the two-tier justice system, and they start saying some crazy things and doing some crazy things. That doesn't make it okay, but it's like, that's just kind of the consequence of where we're at now, unfortunately. And there are some people who are like accelerationists that are like, the pendulum is going to swing back so far it's going to break off. And I hope that's not true. I don't want to see that happening. I don't like seeing this kind of like violence towards other people. Like, not that words are violence, right? But there are people advocating for violence on both sides. And I don't like seeing that.
So what happened after that? Well, the internet did what the internet always does. A reporter at Vice, yeah, that Vice, a publication I used to respect, dropped not one, not two, but 3 hit pieces targeting Kirsche. Now, I didn't realize at first that this same journalist had already written several articles targeting VTubers in general. But after reading through everything, it really feels like they've got a massive axe to grind. And just to be clear, I'm not naming the person not out of fear, but because I don't want to feed into hate, clout chasing, or drama. That said, let's just say this journalist has a history of saying and writing some pretty grotesque stuff themselves, and I'd rather not bring more attention to it. In the articles, the writer clipped parts of Kirsche's stream and surprise surprise pulled them completely out of context. The ironic part? Most of the clips actually make her look better, not worse. Which just proves that either A, the journalist didn't watch the full stream, or B, they don't really care about the truth. Either way, it's not a good look. Now, I've never been a fan of modern games journalism. And stuff like this, it's why it's not about the truth. It's about outrage clicks. And here's where things get worse. While all this was happening, Kirsche was actually on vacation. She didn't have her PC, she wasn't streaming, she wasn't even online to defend herself. She's someone who literally streams almost every day, and she finally took some time off only to come back to see her sponsors, 505 Games, the publisher of crime boss Rockay City, drop her. The campaign worked, at least partially. Thankfully, gamer subs stuck by her, which honestly, huge respect. And funnily enough, the pushback to the smear campaign was so strong that Kirsche actually ended up ranking number 2 in the US and number 7 globally for the super chat revenue that week, which is wild. People rallied around her, and I'll admit, I got swept up too. I left a negative review on Crime Boss not because the game suddenly got worse, but because I disagreed with how the publisher caved to the disingenuous smear campaign. I even ended up arguing with folks on Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it now. I try not to jump into internet drama, but I've got a real issue with misinformation, especially when it's aimed at someone who, let's be honest, has fairly tame takes. Even she has called her own opinions milquetoast. And that's where we're at. So yeah, that's the mess Kirsche walked back into. And honestly, the whole thing really got me thinking. Not just about how quickly the internet can turn on someone, but about how easily misinformation spreads when people don't slow down and ask questions. And that's kind of why we're here today. Because while all of this was unfolding, I was also playing the game in the background. And I realized I had some feelings, some thoughts I needed to sort through. So I figured, why not do both at once? I'll walk you through what happened, give you my take on the situation, and also give the game a fair shake while I'm at it. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's dive into the gameplay while I unpack this whole thing. Alright, so how does crime boss Rockay City actually feel to play? Honestly, it's fine. It's not amazing, it's not awful, it's just fine. The game has been out for a while now, and it's had time to simmer with a few patches. Most of the early bugs seem to be ironed out, or at least I haven't run into anything catastrophic yet. Now, with the mechanics, it's your standard looter shooter, very much channeling Payday 2 vibes. You've got heists to plan, rival gangs to deal with, and an overarching story that exists mostly to justify the chaos. The city? Well, imagine someone bootlegging Payday setting, sprinkle in some Miami neon and Vice City, and said, yep, this'll do. Now, here's how the Steam page sells it, and I'm gonna quote, Crime Boss Rockay City is one of a 1 to 4 player co-op FPS heist game with enjoyable stealth and epic killing spree combat, featuring a solo roguelike campaign that combines FPS and strategy element with the most hilariously cheesy voice act that makes you laugh, end quote. Now, about the hilariously cheesy voice acting, I haven't really hit that yet. I know Chuck Norris is supposed to be in the thing, and Michael Madsen shows up too, I think. But if they're here, they must be buried behind a few more missions or DLC or something, because so far it's been pretty tame on the cringe. As for my own experience, it's been interesting. I played a few heists. Yeah, I've had to restart some, mostly because I keep trying to do stealth, which feels like less supported path. If you go loud, it's messy, but if you go quiet, it's janky. It's not that the game's hard, it's just that it punishes you for coloring outside the lines. The stealth mechanics are there, but they're really finicky. Like, you breathe wrong and suddenly the whole map is on alert. That said, there are definitely different ways to approach each mission. On replays, I did notice that there were shortcuts and sneaky options I missed the first time around, so there is some replayability baked in. It's just not as fluid as it wants to be. Alright, let's talk originality and the fun factor. Does Crime Boss Rockay City feel like a Payday clone? Yeah, it absolutely does. From the 1 to 4 player co-ops to the lobbies, the customizable weapons, and character skins, it's all got that familiar Payday flavor. You don't get the iconic mask, but you do get your own flair, like a custom avatar setup. It's not mind-blowing, but it's there. Now, full honesty here. I'm not going all in this game. I'm giving it a shot to see if it earns my effort. This isn't a deep dive fueled by hype. This is more of a let's see if it changes my Steam review situation. When it comes to the missions, objectives, and progression, it follows a pretty standard template. But there was one thing that actually caught me off guard. Lockpicking. Yeah, the game has a lockpicking mechanic. Now look, it's not reinventing the wheel, it's not Bethesda level with the Fallout and Elder Scrolls minigame, but still, it's a nice touch. Instead of a resource like lockpicks breaking, you get a little pin puzzle. You wiggle them into place, click, and move on. It's simple, but clean. So far, every door I've hit only had 2 pins, but I imagine things ramp up later. That detail surprised me in a good way. I wasn't expecting it, especially because I don't remember it being in the tutorial. And here's another plus. There are multiple ways to approach a mission. In Payday 2, stealth is technically an option, but let's be real. It's usually a temporary advantage. You're going loud eventually. Rockay City, though, it seems like you can actually complete missions fully stealth if you want to. Now, hold on. I did go back and double check this because I didn't want to be unfair. Turns out you can finish missions stealthily in Payday 2. It just takes practice and a whole lot of patience. So I'll give both games credit where it's due. Still, Rockay City's stealth, while it's a bit rough around the edges, it feels more intentional. And that at least nudges it toward being more than just a Payday knockoff. So let's talk about players. Honestly, I didn't see too many folks online. At first, I thought, hey, maybe I'm just not playing during peak hours. So I did what any curious nerd would do. I checked SteamDB. When I recorded this, it was Thursday night around 11 p.m. There were about 180 players online, and the all-time peak last month was around 7,586. In the last 24 hours, roughly 441. Now, during the May 18th to May 19th window, there was a spike around 5,700 players. So the game does have surges in activity. Overall, seems like a decent community exists. And here's the kicker. I didn't experience any toxicity, no trash talking lobbies, no drama mid-heist, just quiet lobbies. Now, part of that might be due to the drama that surrounded the game when it launched. We'll get into that in a sec. But me personally, I never heard of Crime Boss Rockay City until I saw it on Humble Bundle. Played it for a few minutes, laughed it off as a Payday clone, and shelved it. Even with the big name of voice actors, nothing really pulled me in. Is it fun? Sure, I had fun. But whether the fun had staying power is something we'll have to talk about later in the video. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Did the controversy surrounding Kirsche affect how I feel about the game? Yes, 100% it does. I played it. I own it. Will I continue to play it? Maybe. If I'm extremely bored and don't have anything else to do, but I don't see myself waking up excited to say, let's boot up Crime Boss, it's just not going to happen. And honestly, it's because of the controversy. Can I separate the game from the politics around it? No. Not in this case. And here's why. The company bent the knee to the mob. Straight up. Here you had a VTuber, Kirsche, who was actively promoting the game. She wasn't just tweeting about it. She was literally working with them. And also streaming it. They were developing a custom in-game character model for her. Not just a background NPC. An actual playable boss character. There's no way the developers didn't know who she was or what she stood for. You don't enter in a partnership like that blind. But the moment online pressure started, largely based on misinformation, they cut her loose, just like that. So here's my issue. If the devs are willing to throw their own partner under the bus to appease a small, loud group of people, what would happen the next time someone complains? Because let's be real, Crime Boss is not a squeaky clean game. The game leans into stereotypes, has some raunchy dialogue, and pushes boundaries. That's part of its tone. I personally don't mind, I've got thicker skin than most, but the question remains, what happens when the new crowd they're trying to please doesn't like that? And let's be honest, the modern audience that cheered the removal of Kirsche, most of them didn't even buy the game. Or they bought it, saw the content, and refunded it anyway. So now this is your new fan base, one that doesn't even like your product. And in my opinion,
get what you deserve.
And while this drama may fade, the damage is done. The trust is broken. And whatever game 505 Games or in-game studios releases next, they're going to feel the fallout. So, what did the publisher and developer have to say about all of this? Nothing. There's been no apology, no further clarification, no attempt at damage control. They made their position clear when they cut ties with Kirsche and moved on. That was it. No discussion, no transparency, just a quiet severing of the relationship. So as far as they're concerned, this chapter is closed. Now, mind you, as a company, they have every right to do this, but they should expect the backlash as it is. Now, the community's reaction, that's where things get interesting. There were a lot of posts in the Steam Community Hub where players voiced their frustrations, not just with the game, but specifically with how the situation involving Kirsche was handled. And what did the devs do? They started deleting the post. Naturally, that didn't go over well. People pushed back hard. The backlash from the community was strong enough that eventually the devs reinstated the deleted posts. They stopped trying to scrub the negative feedback and finally let players express their discontent openly. As for Kirsche, from what I've seen, she's moved on. She's mentioned that she and her friends are looking for other games to play. Maybe down the line she'll revisit Crime Boss Rockay City, but honestly, I doubt it. Nothing in her recent stream suggests any desire to return. And honestly, can you blame her? That bridge is more than burned. It's been incinerated. Alright, so now we've come down to the piece de resistance, or more accurately, the cherry on top. We're going to talk about my personal takeaway. So when I started this review, commentary, whatever you want to call it, I had to ask myself a few honest questions. So the first question, would I keep playing this game? Honestly, yeah. But only when I'm extremely bored and have absolutely nothing else to do. It's the kind of game that'll sit in my library collecting digital dust until one night I get the random itch. Just like Payday 2, which I've had for years and only boot up every now and then. This game will probably suffer the same fate as the rest of my maybe later shooters. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Unless it's Counter-Strike or the finals. I just don't sink serious time into shooters. Now the second question. Would I recommend this game to my audience? Now here's the thing. My opinion doesn't matter. I'm just a voice on the internet. I don't have a massive pool or some kind of fan army backing my hot takes. But I will say this. If you enjoy looter shooters, if you're into games like Payday or Payday 2, you'll probably find something to enjoy here. It's familiar, it's functional, it does the job. But me, personally, I wouldn't recommend it. Not because it's awful, but because it's not worth my time. And if I'm being very honest, it's neither worth yours. Unless you're desperate for that specific fix. And the final, most important question: how much of the controversy actually influenced my opinion of the game? If I'm being honest with myself, quite a bit. Because this wasn't just a mild PR misstep. This was another reminder of a deeper problem in gaming right now. A problem where companies bend the knee to the first sign of outrage, where they throw their own partners under the bus for PR safety, when integrity takes a backseat to optics. And again, let's be real. This game is raunchy, it leans into stereotypes, it drops colorful language like it's confetti, and they knew who Kirsche was. They knew her humor, they knew her politics, they knew what she was about. They worked with her. They planned to put her in the game as a playable boss. And then, when the mob came knocking, they folded. What's stopping them from doing it again? What happens if this same crowd suddenly decides another part of the game is problematic? Do they patch it out? Do they rewrite their story? Do they apologize for their own dialogue? That's not game development. That's appeasement. And ironically, the crowd that they pander to doesn't even want to buy the game. Some refunded it. Some played for 10 minutes and bounced. And most of them never intended to support it in the first place. So now, that's their new audience. And like I said before, they get what they deserved. For me, this was a reminder of why we need developers with a spine. Developers that aren't afraid to say, yeah, this is who we were working with, this is what we made, and if it's not for you, move on. And sure, maybe crime boss Rockay City will see some level of success. I can understand why it might. There's some fun to be had here. But if it fails, it's earned that too. Because when you alienate the people who actually care, you lose more than just a partnership, you lose trust. And in gaming, that's the real currency. So I guess what I'm saying is this. My original review, I said I gave the game a try after seeing a certain VTuber play it, and now, after watching them kick her to the curb, I want my money back. Payday is a superior franchise anyway. Yes, I actually said that in my review. Am I going to change my review? Yeah, I am. But I'm going to keep it very honest. Because this is the one thing I can't stand. It's performative integrity. And if a studio is willing to toss someone under the bus after working with them based on misinformation, no less, then that tells me more about their values than any press release ever could. So that's the long of it. There's really no short version this time. But hey, if you made it to the end, thanks for sticking around and listening to me rant for a bit. I know this video is a little different from what I normally do, but sometimes these things need to be said. If you do like this kind of content, me just yapping about things, unscripted, raw, let me know. I'm usually lurking in the comments anyway. And hey, if this video ends up gaining traction, which I doubt, and end up building more of a following from it, just know this, which I also doubt. I don't usually focus on drama. I'm here to play games, have fun, and tell stories. That's what I love. And that's what I'll keep doing. So, if you're new here, welcome to the community. You're more than welcome to stay, hang out, and be part of it all. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. God bless.